Good evening, everybody. While I'm waiting for folks to come in and join the chat here, just going to talk a little bit about what's going on tonight and where I am at. I am currently up in Port Townsend, Washington. If I look pretty tired, it's because we had a really long sail today. It was about, I think 37 miles, like that. Actually, 39 miles. It was 39 nautical miles. So that's like 45 miles or so. And so I had a nice long sail today. Got in here, got anchored tonight, and kind of sucks because, well, we actually had a half a day of sailing, half a day of motoring. Sailed through half the day. Hey, Rob, how we doing? Sailed through half the day, and then we lost the wind coming up the side of Whidbey Island there. And so we just motored the rest of the way up here through like just totally flat, calm water, which apparently was the calm before the storm. This wind wasn't even in the forecast. It wasn't even supposed to blow up here tonight. And so it's blowing like 15 to 20 knots right now, really howling, making all the rigging rattle and everything. And so I decided to sit down tonight and do a little bit of night and do a little bit of a live stream, say hi to everybody. I haven't done one of these in a couple of weeks, so that's what we're doing tonight. So we got about 4 folks in the chat now. Say good evening to everybody. Why don't you pop in the comments, say hi. I do respond to people that are coming in here. And so, yeah, it's been a really busy couple of weeks down here. Hey, Pick the Stone, how you doing, buddy? Glad to see you in here again. I haven't seen you around in a while. So, been a real busy couple of weeks, like I was saying. I had a lot of stuff going on here, dealing with some stuff with the VA. I finally figured out what's going on with those guys. Apparently, instead of giving me another appointment like they were talking about, um, what they did was they just basically canceled my stuff, threw it in a file, put it away, and if I want to go back through that process, I get to start over from square one. I turned in the application, but I'm really pissed about it because I flat out went into the office there and the lady just lied to me. Just flat out lied to me. Said, we're going to do this. This is what we're going to do. And they didn't follow through. They just closed the case and off they went. And so that's kind of where everything got left there. And so we're trying to decide what's going to happen for the winter right now. And I don't really know yet. The next few weeks, though, we're wanting to do some cruising around. Going to probably go over to Oak Harbor, where I used to be in the Navy, which would be really cool going back to that. Going to be exploring Port Townsend, which these videos will be a few weeks out, keep in mind, because I'm about 3 weeks, 4 weeks back on the videos right now. And then the other big thing is, the really huge thing is I've been working like crazy on the website for the show. And I've got a really cool website coming together that is going to have a discussion forum on it so everybody can come in and talk about things and do things. And so that will be really cool once that all comes online. And so, pretty excited about that. Pretty excited to see that coming together. I didn't really have a whole lot to talk about tonight. I just figured I'd pop in, say hi to everybody. Haven't done a live video in like 2 weeks now, so that's what we were doing tonight. The other thing was going to mention in here, we've been having massive, massive forest fires. If I sound a little bit nasally right now, or if I start doing exactly that right there, it's just like so much smoke in the air right now, and I'm kind of hoping because the wind that's coming in right now is coming in off the Pacific. I'm really hoping that wind will take all this smoke and kind of drive it down out of this area here because it has been really bad. The air quality's been really horrible, and like during the daytime you haven't been able to see the sun. Like I've got in the video will be coming up in a couple of weeks. Like you cannot even. We're over at Eagle Harbor, Washington, and you cannot see Seattle through the smoke. I mean, you can't even see the open water. Like the channel markers out there at the channel coming into Eagle Harbor were barely visible. It was like less than a mile of visibility. It was all smoke. There was no clouds. It was just all smoke. It was pretty horrible. And so the real bad air quality issues out here. So hopefully they get these fires put out pretty quick. Yeah, Rob, it rained here last night too. We got a pretty good rain up there at Eagle Harbor. Yeah, Pick the Stone. It is pretty bad. It's been pretty horrible, and it's they've got. I looked at a fire map of BC, and the whole entirety of BC right now is just little red dots that shows where all the fires are. They're going to have a hell of a time putting all those out, and and also just in Washington as well. There's a lot of fires going on out here. And actually, I think the last time I looked at a fire map, there was something like 1,250 fires going on, or whatever. So, kind of looking around. I'm looking at Port Townsend here. We're going to go ashore tomorrow, and going to check some things out here. Got some things. Biker Bob says a good time to be in a boat. You're absolutely right about that. It's like I said, we're going to check out Port Townsend tomorrow, and the next couple of days, and then I'm not sure what the next step is going to be from there. I don't really know what's going to be coming next. Got a few things on the table. I'm not really ready to talk about publicly yet, but yeah. Like Rob was saying, the winter rains will do it. Yeah, it's really need that rain to show up here. I mean, I hate wishing for rain in Seattle because once it starts, it's not going to stop for 6 months. But it'll be nice when that rain gets here and gets a lot of this smoke out of the air, gets things normalized a little bit. It's starting to get cold, and it's the second to last week in August right now, and it's kind of surprising to me. I figured that it was going to, summer was going to last a little bit longer into September, that nicer weather, but I think we're going to have an early winter this year, and it might be a hard winter. I remember when I was a kid in the 80s, and we had a couple of winters that were like this. Like in the end of August, it just kind of started getting cool, just like it is right now. And then by the end of September, it was snowing like crazy. And, mind you, this is Montana. But we were like 20 degrees below zero for weeks on end through the winter. Excuse me, I'm all stuffed up from all this smoke right now. Oh, Rob, you're down on your boat tonight, huh? You over there in Orchard? I haven't even checked what the temperature was out here. I did kick the wind instruments on a little bit ago, and we were getting like about 15 knots steady coming over the top of the mast. And luckily, I mean, I'm up against the shore here, so we're on the lee shore, and so the wind's kind of breaking over the top of us. I suspect it'd be a really bumpy night if we were more over on the exposed side over there. I'm just glad that the wind's coming in from the west instead of from the east. If it was coming from the east, we'd be moving. So, Rob, how's that boat going? Are you getting her put together yet, or you got some work to do yet? Hey, Brandon, how we doing? And Pick Stone says, yeah, it's been colder than usual down here in Ray. Is that Ray, Colorado, or California? Joe Hunt says, where you at next? Sure, I missed it. Right now, I'm up by Port Townsend, Washington. We're anchored out in the middle of the bay out there. Well, actually, I guess on the edge of the bay. Brandon's recovering from his trip next week, and Rob's installing his new service or new furnace. Excuse me. Yeah, I'm a little loopy. It was like a 12-hour day on the water today. So good day. Beautiful day. But yeah, Pickstone says Colorado. Yeah, I've been down through your country there in Colorado quite a bit back when I was trucking. Some pretty country out there, but it can get cold, really, really cold. Brandon says, how is Alex and Dexter? Well, Alex has crawled into his little hole to go to sleep for the night, and Dexter, he's doing all right. He's not feeling very good. He just hasn't been very active, and in fact, the only time he appears is when he hears that noise on the refrigerator. As soon as that fridge pops, boom, dog right there. Suddenly appears out of nowhere. It's amazing. He could be all the way up on the bow, pop the fridge, whoof, Dexter's standing right there. Hey, you got anything for me? And then I just lost a comment that came up. Hey, come on, comments. Okay. Rob says, any expectations for Everett soon? I don't know. I need to go over there, but Broken Egg says, aloha from Alaska. Well, howdy. How we doing? I really want to make it up there. I don't think we're going to do it, though. I think we're going to be stuck down here. Yeah, Brandon, well, I think more with Dexter, what's going on, Dexter is starting to go blind. You can see his eyes are starting to cloud up. He's getting really bad cataracts. And so I know that's really difficult for him. The other thing is he's just getting old. I mean, he's going to be 10 years old in October. And he's getting like that old man fur. When a dog starts to get real old, they get kind of that dry, kind of crunchy fur. He's getting that. And yeah. Broken X says, too late for this sailing season, maybe 2019. Here's the situation on sailing. I'm hoping that hopefully what's going to happen this spring is we're going to do a circumnavigation of Vancouver Island and then pop off for Hawaii. That's the plan. Hey Tanya, have not seen you around for a while. Hope you're doing well. Hey Rob, why don't you let me know what you're looking at there? Shoot me a text after we get done with the stream here. Give me a call and we'll figure something out. So yeah, like I said though, I'm hoping that's the plan. Is go do the circumnavigation of Vancouver Island. I want to shake the boat down. I've got a lot that I need to do to this boat. We just got the bottom cleaned. Alex got it cleaned up for us, and he's been doing a lot of scuba diving and stuff here. And so we do have some blisters on the hull that need to be fixed. The bottom paint's sort of getting to the end of its life because it's, what, 3 or 4 years old now. I think in the log it says it was painted in 2014, so it's 2018. So I have 4 years on the bottom paint now. And well, I'm not going to let a cat out of the bag yet, but we do have a video coming where we were taking some water on the boat, and that's all I'm going to say about it. But we've got some other things on the bottom that need to be fixed, and so going to be doing some stuff like that and getting some things handled there. Broken X just says just had a couple sailing back south here in the PWS. Cool. Where were they headed? Glad to hear you're doing good, Tanya. Brandon says, I know when the dog you love gets older, it sucks to have lost a lot of dogs. Hope Dexter helps improve. I know it's tough. Yeah, it is hard. He's just been with me for so long. I got him when he was 6 weeks old, which was the 5th of December of 2008. So we're in 2018 now. So he's going to be 10 years old this year. December 5th, I'll have had him for 10 years. So I think we're, for his birthday, which will be October 21st, I think we're going to have a barbecue, do some steaks and ribs, because Dexter loves him some steak and he loves him some ribs. So I think we're going to do a nice barbecue for him and make him feel good. And yeah, Tanya, what's going on with Dexter is he's just getting old. He's getting cataracts. He's going blind. He's almost 10, and he's just yeah. They're head back to Cali and then back home to Cali. Yeah, a lot of people. I guess it's the time for people to be coming south. We're still kind of working our way north. I'm really thinking about heading up into the San Juans for a little bit, just to go up there for the season for the last little bit of it. I don't know. It's starting to get cold now. Kind of got to see how everything goes the next couple of weeks, because there's some things going on I'm not going to talk about yet that we've got to get figured out to kind of figure out what's happening. He's in here laying down. I think he's sleeping. Tanny, I don't know if you saw the video from, I guess a month and a half ago, where Dexter got hurt. But he tried jumping on the side of the boat, and he tried jumping on in the wrong spot. And I've got that 1/4-inch stainless steel cable that runs all the way around halfway up the lifelines. And he jumped straight into that cable and just caught it right across his nose. And it's just because he couldn't see it, and that's where we started to realize that he's going blind. And it's tough seeing that. And I don't know how long it's going to be going on. I don't know how long of a thing that is, or how long he's got left. I can just see the changes happening in him, and that's not like I don't think he's going to drop over tomorrow. It's just something that's really on my mind a lot, and probably more so. I guess I don't know if I guess I'm going to go ahead and share something going on with you guys. Back in 2006, my stepbrother was murdered, and he was doing some things he shouldn't have been, and got involved with some bad people, and it cost him his life. And so one of the guys from that whole situation was coming up for parole today. And so I had written a letter and sent that in, and that whole thing went down today while we were sailing. I got the message from my dad, and he said, hey, they said, talk to us again in 6 years. They're not going to let him out. So that was a really good thing. But the last couple of days, I've been thinking about that period of time a lot. And I've been thinking about a lot of people that I have lost over the years. Like my grandpa was probably my grandpa Don, the one that was the musician, the one that got me into boating, all those other things. The one that was in World War II. That was a guy who was really important to me. And he's like the first person in my life that I lost that was really like a traumatic thing. And then a couple of years later, we had my friend Stephanie, who was killed in a car accident on our way to school one morning. And my cousin, I had a cousin that committed suicide. I've had, a lot of people that I've lost along the way. Lost my grandmother about 10 years after Grandpa, back in 2007. And then, the whole thing with my stepbrother getting murdered, that whole thing that happened too, there has been a lot of that. And so just a lot of memories that come up with that. And I've been thinking about that a lot today. And I think it's probably just pushed, with what's happened with Dexter a little bit more towards the front of my mind. It was good to see that the guy, is not going to get out. He doesn't need to be in public. I mean, these were some pretty bad dudes. And it was a very terrifying time in life, when something like that happens. And you don't know why. I mean, you just don't know why. And, to find out all the things that were going on and everything. I'm not going to go into the details there because it's just kind of, the family business that I don't want to pull into it. But, for the family, it was terrifying because we don't know if the guys that had done this from the way that they did it, because it was really brutal and it was really disgusting what they did. And to know what had happened, I mean, we were all worried that, hey, these guys are going to show up. They're going to do something to other members of the family. We just didn't know. I just didn't know. And that was a very terrifying time. And the other thing that came with that was really tough, and it has a lot to do with why I don't live in Montana anymore, is my dad's a fairly well-known guy in my hometown. He used to run a big electrical contracting shop there, and so because of that, like, everyone in town knows who he is. And so I would go out in public after this whole thing had happened, and people would come up to me, and they'd be like, people I didn't even know, people I'd never talked to in my life. They would come up and they would start asking questions like I owed them information, and that was a really tough thing, because it'd be like, hey, how's your dad doing? How's mom doing? Did they catch the guys yet? Did they know anything yet? And they were just, their curiosity, they were being really bad about minding their own business, and that was one of the things that was really instrumental in making me just pick up and haul ass, and that's when I moved to Texas. And that's why I moved to Texas, and a lot of people don't know that. And then I lived in Texas for like 7.5 years, and that was the whole reason why, is I just needed to get out of there. I mean, it was just like I was crawling the walls, because I couldn't leave my house without having this conversation two, three, 5 times in that summer. I mean, I quit working. I had just, got real down, and that was a real bad thing. So that's where that happened. So I'm gonna scroll back up the comments here and just kind of get caught up with what everybody's saying. Brandon says, "I love the video with Alex's sister. It seems cool. It was awesome to be surprised. That was really awesome. We planned that for like 2 months. He had no idea that it was coming, and she was like baiting him on, being like, "Oh no, I can't make it till like maybe December. I'm so broke." And then he walks in, and I knew we got him good when he's like, "What the heck?" And that was pretty funny. Rob says Friday Harbor is great in November. I'm definitely going to have to go up there. I used to, actually, when I was in the Navy, great little Navy story right quick. I was stationed up here at a Naval Air Station, Whidbey Island, when I was in the Navy. I was there for 9/11, which was like a crazy day. And so, before 9/11, I was getting my pilot's license through the Whidbey Island Naval Flying Club. And so we used to fly up to Friday Harbor. It was just what we called a $100 hamburger run. And so we'd fly up there in the little Cessna 172 9730 hotel, and we'd land up there and walk downtown, get a hamburger at this little joint. It's not there anymore, burnt down, unfortunately. But we'd walk up there, we'd get a hamburger, and then we'd come back, fly back down. So you'd get a day flight on the way up over water, you'd get a night flight on the way back. So you'd get an hour up of daytime flight time, hour back in nighttime, which was great. Absolutely loved it. But unfortunately, 9/11 put, because I was supposed to solo September 13th of 2001, and it kind of sucked because I was working my way through it. I was trying to be a commercial pilot after I came out of the Navy, or possibly even get into naval aviation if I could work it out. But unfortunately, those things didn't get to happen there. So story time over. Back to the comments. Tanya says, "Please give me." Or please love him for me. I love him, or give him some love for me. Sorry, I'm going cross-eyed here. I will definitely do that. Dexter gets all the love. He does, even when he's being a butthead. Yeah, Rob, it was really good to see that they kept him. I mean, it was just such a big stress relief, because it would have been very, very upsetting for everyone. Broken X says, "The longer you live, the more friends and family you lose. It's a tough reality." You're absolutely right about that. It's never easy. The thing with death, I mean, there's such a finality to it that you know that you're never going to see that person again. You're never going to interact with that person again. That they're just gone, and or like with the dog, you're used to him being there every day. I mean, I wake up first thing every morning, and there's that thump 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 of the tail and that smiling face looking over the end of the bed, saying, "Hey, how you doing? I want to go play." And that's. Is every day can count on that, and when that's not there anymore, that's going to be hard. It's going to be really weird. But I'll tell you this much: this boat will always and forever have dog hair in it, because he is shedding like crazy right now. Oh, by the way, Broken X, what part of Alaska are you in? Brandon says, "It's horrible, Nick. They need to keep this horrible man in prison. That would make me crazy, man." It was a really bad thing, and I'm really glad that that's where he's staying. Joe Hunt says, "Where in Texas?" In Texas, I was in Corpus Christi for about 5 years. I ran a towing company down there. I worked on the USS Lexington for a while as a welder, and then had some real bad legal problems down there. Actually, I towed a crooked cop's car, and he had his boys try to do everything they could to get me nailed for something, and they brought some charges against me, and like they kept trying to put the case back, kept trying to get me to take a deferred adjudication. I said, no, either you can drop the charges because I'm not guilty of doing anything wrong, or we could take it to court and I can have my day in court. And finally, they delayed it 5 times, and I spent all this money traveling back and forth because I was no longer living in Texas at that point. I'd moved back to Montana, so I had to go back to Texas several times to deal with this, to show up for this court date. And finally, we came in and had the day in court, and the jury came back with a not guilty in 6 minutes. It was basically like, yeah, they're just wasting our time, da da da. But so I got my vindication there. But it was, yeah, it was a tough thing. Brandon says, have you ever been to Nia Bay? Looks like a neat town on the Strait of San Juan de Fuca. I'm not too far from there right now, actually. We'll probably wind up over that way. Pick to Stone says, I know that way too well. My grandfather's own cousin. Oh, or my grandfather's owned a construction company here in Ray, but being asked how much to rent is. Yeah, being asked to rent how much of a piece of equipment. Yeah, it's funny how the things like that happen. Like people think that because your family member has something that you're supposed to know as well, and I don't think people understand. Rob says, nice little town. Broken X says, I'm in Cordova. Cool. Yeah, I know about right where that is. Yeah, southeast of Valdez and Prince William Sound. Yeah, I know where you're at up there. That's some beautiful country from what I understand. I've always really wanted to go up there, but if we're going to get out of here next year and head to the South Pacific, I don't think we're going to be able to. Tanya says, were those the same ones that caused your car accident? Tanya, no, the car accident I had was actually, it was ironically on Dexter's birthday, October 21st of 2001. The guy that caused that accident, he was in the country illegally, and he was transporting a load of methamphetamine, and he had gotten into it and gotten high, turned his car sideways in front of me on the interstate. Totally separate deal, totally not the same thing, but yeah. Brandon says, how long of a sail is it to Alaska? Well, Brandon, that really depends on a few things. There's 2 routes you can go. You can either go up the Inside Passage, and the thing with the Inside Passage is there's a lot of current, and there's not a lot of wind because there's a lot of tall mountains, and so you've either got a whole lot of wind or you don't have any wind. And so you're trying to make it happen. You're going to do a lot of motoring. You're going to do a bit of sailing, a lot of motoring, bit of sailing. And you're also having to time certain passages because you have certain places like Waldy's Sailing just did a video where they're going through the rapids up there. I can't remember the name of the rapids right now, but if you check out their channel if you want to see it, they just went through these rapids. And these rapids, if you are not careful and go through it at the wrong time, you can have 15 knots of current through there. So in a boat that'll only do 5 knots, that's a really bad deal. And so you don't want to get caught up in that situation, so you have to time it to go through it slack through these places. And so you're going to find yourself spending the night in a lot of times and things like that. And so your time to get there is totally dependent on the weather, the wind, and how you can time the currents. Because the thing with currents and tides is this, is the time that slack happens and the time that high tide happens, that shifts just a little bit every day. So every year it's not exactly at the same time. And so when your optimal conditions for sailing might not be when the optimal conditions for the current is. And so you have to time those things together and have to make all that work. And so how long it's going to take you to get to Alaska, that would be a tough deal to put it on exactly. If you just like hammer it and go, and yeah, well, it depends on how much you stop as well. If you just hammer it and go straight through and you don't stop for anything and you're just going, you're looking at, I'm going to say 2 to 3 weeks. You could be up into Alaska. Like what part of Alaska you're going to? I mean, I'm talking like Ketchikan, maybe Juneau in a couple of weeks. To go all the way up to like the like Valdez. You're probably 3 weeks to a month would be my best guess, and that's assuming you don't stop for anything. Joe Hunt says, how much wind does your Spencer need to get up to hull speed? In about, well, when the bottom was clean here today, we had about 10 knots blowing, and she was giving us through the water, I'm estimating because we're fighting current a little bit, I'm estimating she was giving us about 7 knots at that. So she was getting along pretty good in about 10 knots of breeze. So I know that with the smaller sails, running the 150 today, running the smaller headsail, We've got it's about a 85 or a 90% sail. That sail in 18 knots of breeze, um, trimmed upright, will give me about 8.3 knots true. So that that just kind of varies. But I do know in 5 knots of breeze, the boat will give me 3 knots with the 150 flying. So Brandon says, I have friends in Cape Town, South Africa right now. That would be an awesome sail. Brandon, Cape Town is going to be probably a place that is not going to be very sailor friendly. There's some bad things happening in South Africa right now. The president of the country and his people have come in and started executing people and taking their farms away. White people. There's some genocide going on right there right now, and it's not really being talked about in the news. I know there's a big thing about it today. And some people are cheering it on. Some people are horrified. I'm horrified anytime there's genocide, no matter what the color of someone's skin is. But um, that's going to be a real bad thing if that continues, and we're going to have to see there, because that's pretty egregious that that sort of thing's being allowed to happen, and people should really be standing up trying to stop it. So hopefully your friends do stay safe. Broken X says the weather is most difficult. The Pineapple Express really do. The Pineapple Express really makes it hard to plan too. Yeah, it's really hard to plan that stuff. You're absolutely right about that. And also I know having grown up around them, I would assume. I mean, this is an assumption on my part. Okay, I'm putting this out here. This is an assumption, but from my understanding with the mountains in Montana, I know that the mountains make their own weather, so it doesn't matter what the forecast says. Mountains tend to do their own thing and will make their own wind, will make their own weather. And because of that, a lot of people would in the summertime they'll come up to Montana and wind up dying, and the reason they wind up dying is they go out in like a t-shirt and shorts and some flip-flops because it's 95 degrees, and they go hiking and they get stuck out there overnight and they get snowed on and freeze to death. I mean, this is a thing that happens up there. And so just because the mountains make their weather. I mean, it can snow out there in Montana 365 days out of the year. Up in the high country, not in the lowlands, but in the high country it can. And so when you start to get up into those alpine regions, you actually have to plan for that. You have to take winter weather gear with you, even though it's summertime. And I would assume, just looking at the terrain and everything, from going up to Alaska, because I mean, there's a lot of water that comes down through there, and there's a lot of wind that has the ability to drive it, and there are a lot of mountains, because I mean, the islands that stick out there are really just mountains that have come out of the water. There's almost no shelf off the side of them in a lot of places. So assume that they have the ability to make their own weather as well. So trying to predict that, trying to know exactly what it's going to be, it's just kind of a crapshoot. And I think you're really going to be into wait and see weather prediction. You're going to be waiting to see what's going to happen and making the best of it as it comes. Trying to get my comments back here. Sorry for the shaky camera. Rob said 23 knots gave him 13. Okay. In the boat. Tania from Australia says the dude has lost his mind. You're absolutely right. That I'm assuming you're talking about the guy in Australia. Ben Eminger just joined us. Hey Ben, sitting up in Port Townsend right now, having a little bit of a blow here tonight. It's storming, not too bad, but we're bouncing a little bit and we're hearing a little bit of wind noise. Pick to Stone says, yes, Latana is a little mountain, and I don't know what the rest of that was going to be. And you can. Okay, I'm Pick to Stone. I'm not following, so maybe if you want to reiterate there. I'm not sure what you're saying. Brandon says, I have a friend in Australia and another in Costa Rica right now. Brandon, I think you have friends all over the world, sir. But yeah, the cold weather getting here is kind of starting to get to me, because it's been a tough couple of years, losing the engine of the truck, everything else, all the other things have gone on. And for me, I wanted to be out of here by now. I wanted to be out of here this summer, headed for Hawaii and off on this adventure. And that has not happened yet. The really good news is, I have, as of right now, 6 payments left to make on this boat, and I own it outright. So that is very exciting to me. And that is going to open things up to where I can start getting a lot more done here. So we're feeling really good about that. Broken X says, what type of heat do you have in your boat? Right now? None whatsoever. We're going to have to get something done about that pretty quick. When I was still in the marina, I was just using electric heat to power it, but I don't know if you're following along, know what happens, but I mean, for anyone else that doesn't know, I kind of got screwed over by the VA this summer and wound up having to move out of the marina because of that, so we're trying to figure out what's going to happen for the winter right now. Rob, don't have a diesel furnace or anything yet. I've got a couple of things I'm looking into, so we'll see. Brandon says, I've researched Nordic tugboats. They look really awesome. They are an interesting looking boat. The Nordic tugs, I've seen a lot of them around. There's actually like 4 or 5 of them in the marina I was in down there in Tacoma. They seem to be nice looking boats. I just not my personal style, honestly. If I was going to go with a power boat like a motor yacht, I would probably be looking at something like an Alaskan or possibly a Grand Banks, depending on what I was going to do with it. The DeFever, like I really like the lines of the 65-foot DeFever. That was a really nice boat. Pick the Stone says, in Alaska, and I can't figure out the weather's what. So whatever. Sorry, new phone is kind of glitchy. I got you. Okay, can't figure out the weather in Alaska. Hey, Sailing with Vampires, how you doing, man? Hope you and the dogs are doing well. Tanny, it's been tough, but I'm dealing with it. I'm going to make it work one way or the other. And the big surprise that's coming is I'm building a new website. Like to give you guys a little bit of background, I don't know if you know who Naomi Wu is. She goes by Sexy Cyborg on YouTube. She's a Chinese creator, does a lot of really cool builds, really good tech, and she's a interesting person. Does a lot of programming, and also her other claim to fame that she has is says she has the biggest hits in Shenzhen. So that's kind of funny. But she is someone who I've really followed along. I really like her builds. I do like to see more women getting into tech and things like that. And it's for my own selfish reasons. I love tech. I love things like that. And so I want to see more women in the world that are into the things I'm into because to me that is more interesting. And so I've really been a support. And we had a thing happen where Vice came to China. They did a big interview with her. She was, requested that they not talk about certain things, and they decided to go ahead and talk about it anyways, which, with the politics of living in a communist country, there's certain things that she just can't afford to do and say and everything else. And, the fact it's legal because YouTube is banned in China. It's just a whole big thing, and Vice did not protect her. So, because of that, I have stopped using Patreon because there was a big thing where Patreon got her Vice got her Patreon page canceled, and she lost all of her income because of it. So that was a really big bad deal. And so with that, I decided that I will no longer use Patreon. And so I've been building a website that I'm going to use for the show, where it's going to have a members only section, basically just like how Patreon works, except it's my own thing. And the great thing about it is instead of having to give Patreon 10%, I only have to give the credit card company 2.93%. So that's a really big deal, because if I make $1,000 in a month out of that at 10%, I'd have to give 100 of that to Patreon. I'm only going to have to give $29.30 to the credit card company. So I would rather give the credit card company $29.30 than $100 to Patreon. So that's why I'm doing it that way. And also the other thing about it is I'm looking at the future of YouTube, and I want to continue having a channel for a long time. I really enjoy video content creation. There's a lot of things that I want to be able to do. And so I was looking at it, well, YouTube may not always exist, because YouTube has a lot of problems. There's some issues I've had with how Susan has done things. There's issues with the algorithm right now. Right now, the videos are having a hard time getting seen. We're not getting a whole lot of viewership on the videos. Like, if you look at the early videos I did, I was getting thousands of views on those videos, and they weren't that great. And now I've really got the quality on the videos up and working really hard on them, and I'm getting like 200, 300, 500 views on a video. And so I'm worried that YouTube is failing. I'm worried that the platform is going to fail. And so keeping that in mind by having my own website where everyone's used to going and seeing my content, by putting that together, if it should happen that YouTube goes away, people won't lose the Renegade show. They won't lose the content that I'm creating because I'm also going to have it hosted on Vimeo. So all that will have to happen is I will flip a switch and the content will still be right there. So that way the channel won't disappear. The things that you guys have come here for won't disappear if YouTube goes away. And also for me, I'm going to put a store on there and do some other things like that. So that's going to be really cool. I have thought, Rob and Tanny just mentioned Twitch. I I've thought about Twitch a little bit, but the thing is Twitch is a little bit different. I don't. It's more of like a streaming service, and I've looked at it some. I think the route that I'm probably going to move more towards is doing like vlog type videos on the Renegade show, and then I have this series that I want to do called Sailing Through History. I want to go out into the Pacific and I want to make documentaries about the battles in the Pacific. I want to document that stuff because it has been done to a certain extent, but it hasn't been done really well, and the naval campaigns have been covered horribly. And so that's what I've been thinking about. And so Sailing Vampire says, "Do you have shirts yet?" Not yet, but soon. As soon as I can get that store put together, and when I first launch the site, the store's not going to be there. But as soon as I can get, I'm having to figure out how to work with this company's API. I'm using direct print T-shirts, and I need to get their API figured out. And once I have their API figured out, like the Hard Fighting Sailor T-shirts, the U.S. Navy 72 Virgins remote dating service with the cruise missile one that I usually wear, that'll be on there. And we're gonna have just like a straight Renegade show, and yeah, the merch will be coming, and I really want to get that going. So that'll be really good when I can make that happen. But it's just going to take some time to get that figured out, squared away, and I mean, I've really in the last year, like I was just thinking about it, it's coming up on a year since I got fired from that job for reporting the guy that was a real unsafe driver, and I just sat down. Then that's when I decided, okay, I'm doing programming now. I'm going to do this, and so I've learned so much about programming in that time. It's been an amazing thing. I've learned so much in that period of time, and it's really awesome. And so I've just kind of thinking about that now. I mean, we really have come a long way. It has been a fight, but the knowledge that I have now about programming, I mean, when I was at that point, I was about right there. I had about this much programming knowledge. And now, I mean, it's amazing what I can do now. And so I'm really looking forward to showing you guys this because I've been working incredibly hard on this. And yeah, Broken X, we'll see you later. Hope you guys have a good night up there in Alaska. Hope the weather stays good for you as long as it can. Brandon, I'm not sure what county Port Townsend. This might be Kitsap. I'm not entirely sure. Um, I think it's Kitsap, but I mean, I'm not too hot on the counties here in Washington. I don't know those two very well. Excuse me, I'm still stuffed up. For those of you that don't know, there's a lot of forest fires out here right now, and yeah. Rob says, okay, it's Jefferson County, I guess. Oh man, my purple crystal light. Living on that. So actually, I've been living on Dr Pepper lately. I need to throttle back on that shit, but I love it way too much. That's like my vice. That's how I get my caffeine. So yeah, it's. I tell you what though. I mean, even though it's storming outside, and we're at anchor right now, I feel really good on this boat. I mean, I've got an anchor alarm set, so if we start dragging, I'm going to know. Also, what I've noticed is in this boat, sleeping in the V berth, if the boat starts dragging, I can hear the anchor bounce, 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 and so that's been kind of a good thing because we've only drug once, and when we drug, we had a boat rafted up to either side of us. There was a whole lot of wind, and this knothead decided early in the morning that the thing to do was to go water skiing through the anchorage where you had boats rafted up all over the place, and so I mean I could have shot at him. It just made me so mad. But the motion of the taking all three of those boats, slamming them up and down like that, is just a little too much for my anchor, and it drug, and it turned into a big ball of mud because it kind of just made a trench in the bottom, packed a lot of mud on the surface. Once we hauled it, dropped it a couple of times, knocked the mud off, went over, reset it, it was fine. But the upside of that is I do know that this anchor holds real well. It's a 40-pound CQR. Yeah, Sailing Vampires. It's a 40-pound CQR. And it's I've thought about getting a newer one, but it seems like this one's working really well. I know the Bruces are also really good. I've thought about getting a Bruce, but for right now, unless I start having issues with this anchor not holding where I'm at, I don't think I'm going to worry about it. I mean, it seems to be a good anchor, although I'm probably going to have to think about it eventually because this one is getting what you would call experienced. Actually, I'll just step up and show you guys where I'm anchored right now. We'll do a little trip outside here. Let me spin the camera around. Whoop. Oh, phone 100% battery power left. And the camera isn't wanting... For whatever reason, my camera takes a minute to focus. But if you look right out there, that's the Port Townsend ferry terminal right there. And then city of Port Townsend there. All right, I'm going to pop down inside because it is cold out here. You want to say hi to everyone, Alex?
Hello.
Sailing with Vampires asked, are you running all chain? Yes, we are running all chain. The boat has 280 feet of chain on board. And right now, I think I've got 120 feet of that in the water, which where we're at, it's 22 feet deep, I'm wanting to say. I mean, I haven't looked at that thing for a couple hours, but I think we're in 22 feet of water when I said it. So got 120 feet out. That's more than enough scope, which really shouldn't go over. Brandon says, looks like a nice evening in Port Orchard. Yeah, or excuse me, Port Orchard. Port Townsend, yeah. It's a fairly nice evening up here other than the wind, and this is really smoky when we got in here. It was really hazy. When you guys see the video from this in a couple of weeks, you'll see that, excuse me, that it was just barely any visibility. Not as bad as Eagle Harbor was, but this wasn't that great. Make sure I didn't miss any comments here. And I'm going to have to go in just a minute because the phone is almost out of battery. Okay, yeah, no, it didn't miss anything, so. Well, let me pop this. Well, hello there. How are you doing? Did you want to say hi to the YouTubes? Hey. Goofy ass dog. Yeah, he's a good one. He's wanting people food, which is why he's coming over. He's like, hey, I smelt what you cooked earlier. I didn't get any. Where's mine? Oh, this dog. But, yeah, the other thing is, actually, I got a little something I can show you guys that I'm working on. You know, since you're on the feed here, and a lot of people aren't going to watch till the end of the feed, so I'll give you a little surprise. But this, spin it around here, that is the old ICOM IC735 that I'm taking out of the boat right now. And the reason I'm taking that out is right here. I procured a Kenwood TS570D. Oh, you can actually hear someone on there right now. I'm not gonna bother tuning it in, but I was listening to it the other night. But the great thing about that 570D is I can do digital modes on it. And having the ability to do digital modes means that I can do certain things there. Brandon, it's actually not a marine brand radio. That is a ham radio. I'm a ham radio operator, and I do have a whole ham radio series that I have been working on since actually December. And I just, with everything going on, I haven't really been able to do anything with it. That's back when I got my license, was back in December. And I got to do some really cool things, like my grandpa's call sign, because my grandpa's a ham radio operator. He's the one that introduced me to it. So I was able to go get his old call sign. And so it was really cool. Rob, sorry, but the old one already has a buyer. Someone already bought it from me. So I'm taking it down to him here in the next couple of days. Wayne P says, have you ever had an envelope sewn up out of upholstery material to slip up underneath the hull in case of leaks? No, I haven't, Wayne. I've got a lot of patching and plugging stuff on board, but I've never done anything like that. So it was like I was saying, though, We're going to start doing a lot of like electronics related stuff on here as I start to get going on that. And Brandon, that's fine if you don't know anything about it, because Sailing of Vampires just said, don't say ham in front of Dexter. Absolutely. Actually, the one you don't want to say is Burgers. I'm not even saying. Oh my God, you've learned how to spell. He comes over here like, hey, what are you talking about? Oh, he all just sat down right here. Goofy dog. Anyways, so I'm going to do some videos. I've got some really cool stuff that I've been working on. And there's a couple other channels I've been following. And one of those is like Space Comms, things like that. And I want to kind of make some, as I'm figuring stuff out, I'm going to make some videos showing people what I have done. I'm getting ready over the winter sometime. I'm going to make a custom antenna, and I'm going to use a Raspberry Pi and build a setup so as that I can download weather images from satellites direct. I won't have to go through any service. Won't have to go through anything like that. I'm going to get data straight from weather satellites from NOAA. And the Russians actually have a set of weather satellites that are even better. They give like color and thermal and everything else. So I'll be able to do some really neat things with that, do direct downloads. So we'll have a big goofy antenna hanging on the back of the boat running around. But I'm going to make that happen, do a few other things like that. And I think that is going to be really cool when that all comes together. And so that I'm really looking forward to sharing that on the channel. So that's going to become kind of its own series of videos, and we'll be talking about a lot of that stuff. Well, you know, Rob, I know a lot of people like CB, and I talked on the CB for a lot of years, but I just look at it this way: ham radio is just CB for grown-ups. Because on the ham, you don't have to, yeah, you don't have all the idiocy that you do on the CB radio. There's just so much garbage on the CB. So that's kind of the exciting thing, and I have to take the antenna tuner out of this thing before I can use that radio. I gotta get some new coax run over there out to the backstay and everything. So hopefully be doing that in the next week or so here, and then get that going. But there's some really cool stuff I'm gonna be able to do with that then. One of the things I can do with the ham radio is I can call into a shore station and I can make a phone call. And so for me, that's just a safety feature I want to have. Like if someone gets hurt on the boat and I need to get a hold of a doctor or some type of medical professional, I can do that. The other thing is when I put a second radio in here, I haven't bought the radio yet, but when I get a UHF VHF that goes next to it, this Kenwood can act as a repeater, so I can be talking on a handheld radio back to the UHF VHF, and then I can bump that around and use the HF radio to pump it out overseas. Okay, guys, my phone is down to 5% here, so I am going to have to go ahead and call it a night. So hope you guys are having a good one wherever you are at. I'm going to kick on out of here. Stay awesome. We'll see you later. We'll do more videos on this later. Have a good night.